Hey ladies, welcome back to the Purpose, Power, and Profit Society. I am your host, Kimberly Smith, and this is your home where you get to identify your purpose, transform your pain into power, and activate your genius so that you can create multiple streams of income and earn those coins. So listen, this episode is all about moms. Not only this episode, but this season, we're talking about moms, how we balance, how we live life, and we live it intentionally, and how we pursue our purpose with kids, dating, marriage, and all of our other responsibilities, but still making sure that we make an impact in the world. I am honored to have with me two amazing moms tonight, and we're going to talk about their journey to purpose. We don't want you to feel alone. This is your support room. We're here to help. Definitely want you to hear this episode and hear these women and their hearts and their journey, and I can't wait to introduce them to you. So first, I have Krystal DesChamps. Amazing, amazing lady. Saw her bio and was like, I need to have her. She's bomb. Like, I am so happy about this, but I have not had a horrible podcast interview. So I'm hyped that this one is going to be bomb too. And I have not had horrible guests. Like, all my guests are bomb. They don't like. I'm hype about that. I got a good track record. I got to keep it that way. And then I also have with me Dr. Shoneika Moore. So y'all are in for an awesome treat. I cannot wait to share these women with you. So Krystal, let's kick it off with you. Tell them a little bit about yourself and what you do, and about your son.
Hi, everyone. First of all, I just want to say how excited I am to be here tonight. Thank you so much, Kimberly, for having us on the first episode of your season 3. I feel so honored to be here. But anyway, my name is Krystal DesChamps, and I am a certified life coach and author who just actually released my second book. It's available now for pre-order, but I'll get to that later. I am a proud mommy of a 9-year-old who I always like to tell people is like a 59-year-old trapped in a 9-year-old's body. He's a very old soul. But basically, I help single moms to move from pain to purpose, just helping them to eliminate toxic thoughts and beliefs that have been holding them back for way too long, and just help them to step into who God created them to be.
I love it. I love it. I think sometimes we hide because we've had kids,
Yes.
And we lose our identities or who we really are. And so I've never been married, so I can't talk about what happens when you're married and then you try to pursue purpose, because I'm sure that's a whole nother quandary. So I'm happy that I'm already in mine. So, when we get together, it's like, but you already know what it is, though.
Very true.
Right? So shout out to the single girls pursuing purpose. And you married chicks too, like hype for you too. Now, Dr. Shoneika, tell us all about yourself and your babies.
I am a certified life coach as well. And I did graduate last year with my doctorate in theology. I went to theology school because I realized that there was more that I wanted to learn in regards to my walk. So I also, in that process, started doing coaching for people who are broken. It didn't matter whether you were single, married, whatever the case may be, because I realized that there are a lot of broken people out here still trying to go from relationship to relationship, whether it's with a partner or friendship. So I wrote my second book that I just released last month. First one was Breakthrough Spiritual Weight Loss Through Strongholds. And second one, Life After Divorce, 7 Steps on How to Bounce Back. Because I had went through a traumatic experience with divorce and 4 children. So it was really, really tough. And I had to use my experience to help others know that you can bounce back from it. Like, look at me. I just hit 30. And, the things that I've been through, a lot of people would think that I'm way older. But, just the fact that I'm able to be transparent with people to help them overcome. And that's what my goal is.
That is so awesome. So awesome. So this is one of the things that I think we need to jump into like quickly, because I think that as moms, number one, they're probably balancing. So they're probably listening to us while they're changing babies on their way to work, working out, something of that nature. We know that they're not sitting still, right? So,
Yes.
So I love that we run the gamut in this episode, because my daughter's 22. Krystal's son is 9. Shoneika, how old are your kids?
I have 13, 9, 6, and 3.
So we run the gamut, like, to say the least. Like, I think that we have an awesome range here. So I'm pretty hype about that too. First and foremost, for those women who have babies, have kids, no matter the age, as a mom, when did you realize your purpose, and then when did you start walking in it?
Well, basically for me, I had been a mental health nurse for a little over 11 years. And I knew for years that God was calling me to something more, but I wasn't sure what that was. And I stayed stuck in that for years because I was so concerned about everybody else's expectations and opinions of me. And that's actually why my first book is called Stuck at Start, Why You Self-Sabotage and How You Can Stop Today, because I had some healing that I had to do. And that's what that book was about getting free from other people's opinions and expectations, and knowing that at the end of the day, nobody's opinions matter except God. Like, that was the most important. And so basically, I remember the day, June 23rd, 2016, me and my son wrote out prayer request list. And on that prayer request list, I wrote, please, God, lead me to my purpose and open the doors for me to be able to walk through to it. And it was like things immediately started happening. I got connected with people, and it was just confirmation for me that, you know, God was calling me into my purpose, and I was the one that had blocked it for so long.
Wow. So you already had a 6-year-old.
At that point, yeah.
Like 5, 6, or 7-year-old. And you were, you know, realizing that there was more. So did you feel like a tugging, a pulling?
I did.
Okay.
I had been unhappy for a long time because mental health nursing can be very emotionally and physically draining. Mm-hmm. And I've always loved helping people, but it can also be quite dangerous as well for a female working with big grown convicts and, you know, just people that are just very aggressive and violent. And I just knew that wasn't what God had for me. But like I said, I was so stuck on appearing to be a failure to my family and friends because, you know, everyone saw me as being a nurse, and, you know, nursing is such a good career. Mm-hmm. Like, as a single mom, it was able to support me and my son. So to say that I'm going to leave that and venture out into coaching and my purpose is like, sounds like foolishness to a bunch of people.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be. And we had that conversation in my Facebook group today. One of the young ladies said, you know, it was, what was it called? We called it Transformation Tuesday, was today in my Facebook group. And one of the ladies said, you know, what do I do when I'm telling people the vision I have for my life? And people are kind of like, what? You want to do what? How? And that's the thing, that you have to be extremely careful about who you talk to about your life vision, your purpose, your goals, not because they'll steal it, but because they may not comprehend it because it seems so drastically different from what it looks like today. Yes. And so my answer to that is, number one, you need a whole squad, which is faith-filled, vision chasing, purpose having type of women where you can authentically have these relationships. So that's the one thing that I absolutely love about connecting with women for the podcast. And now I have some guys coming on to, do well. But it is so amazing to build this movement, because for me, it is a movement where we can build, we can talk, we're not jealous. This is not the local or regional aspect of, basketball wives or loving, that's not is. This is really women who see the best in each other and push each other and cheer each other on. Right. And that's the part that I think is missing, even as like a movement of women, even in empowerment. So Shoneika, talk to us about when you discovered your purpose. What did that look like for you?
When I discovered my purpose, I always knew my purpose, but I always ran away from it. Simply because I grew up in New York, so I'm a city kid. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of temptation there, and I wanted nothing to do with ministry at all. Absolutely nothing. It was boring to me. Speaking in tongues scared me. I just thought my family was crazy. I'm like, why are we at this church and these people are speaking this different language? Then you prophesying to me, tell me I'm going to be like John the Baptist. And the problem that I had with that was I realized that I was like, who's John the Baptist? So I started Googling. Google is the enemy sometimes. And, and I didn't want to know how he lived. I wanted to know how he died. And a lot of times we miss what we're supposed to do, focused on how we're living. How the story is going to end, rather than just living through it. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to know how this man died. And once I found out he was beheaded, I said, oh no, that's not the will of God for my life. So I was like, y'all not going to have me in the desert and all kind of, no. I was young. And so, and then when I decided to answer my call, I thought it was the biggest mistake of my life. Because I thought it was the bigger mistake of my life, because everything started falling apart. My marriage started falling apart. My kids started acting crazy. My ex-husband started acting crazy. So I was like, no. I was like, this can't be what's happening right now. But I had to think back to when I wrote my first book, Breakthrough Spiritual Weight Loss, and what the book was about. It was mainly about generational curses and being free from bondage. But I didn't realize that answering the call would start freeing me from some bondage, and what I thought was chaos, all hell breaking loose, was actually God freeing me from things that did not need to be in my life, so that way I can move on and do what he called me to do. Because had I moved on with these bondages and strongholds attached to me, I wouldn't be effective in ministry, because they always say some people can't go with you. Mm-hmm. So I had to lose some friendships. I had to lose my marriage. And for someone that say that they was raised up in the church, I just couldn't understand how they couldn't understand that I was walking in my purpose. So I was confused. Mm-hmm. I was all the way confused. And then I'm like, see, that's why I didn't want to answer the call in the first place. So I was really, really, really upset. I threw temper tantrums. I was mad. And I was just like, but at the end of the day, I had to look at the brighter picture on being the example that my children need, because I put myself in these situations, and it helped me see that if I don't get it together, the cycle is going to do nothing but repeat itself. Mm-hmm. So someone has to stand up and say, no, I'm not going to let this happen. I'm going to cut it off right here, and I'm going to move forward and deal with whatever's going on. And that's how I just decided to walk and didn't care what fell off. Because I said, if you're falling off, you wasn't supposed to be on in the first place.
Girl. So, that's a good segue, because I remember I was like Dr. Shoneika, and I ran for years. Can I tell you how long? Hold on. How long did I run? 5. I ran for 20 years the call of ministry, from purpose itself, which, the call of ministry isn't necessarily, it's just the way my purpose manifests in, the kingdom, but my purpose essentially in the world, I ran from it. Like, I knew pieces, I knew this part, I knew that part, but for 20 years, I ran from all of it until I hit a brick wall. And it was either choose purpose or, what are you going to do? Like, you could very well lose your whole freedom. And it was one of the things that I remember. And y'all know how we pray these prayers. Be like, Lord, if you get me out, I promise I won't. I won't. So I had one of those moments, except that moment lasted 9 months. And it was like, I said I'd follow you, Jesus. Like I said I'd do it, okay? Like, you could let this go at any moment now. Like, literally, can you just make it stop? I didn't want any parts of the process. That whole 9 months was straight processing for me. It was taking out all of the additives and the preservatives of who I wanted to be and not who I was called to be.
Right.
And the one thing that I thought was that my surrender to purpose meant that everything would be smooth sailing afterwards. And it was a big yes. Like, I made a yes to ministry. I made a yes to helping women, because heretofore I did not like them. If they were problematic, they got on my nerves. I can't be bothered with these relationships because you want too much. Just walls. I had a whole fortified city, and the only person inside was me and sometimes Jesus. And so when you say yes to purpose, there is almost like a cleanup. Have you ever seen when buildings are deconstructed, when they blow them up with dynamite to bring them down, to clean it off and grow something else? That's how it is for it. That's how I see purpose. When you say yes to purpose, it's like anything else that doesn't do any good.
Operation Demolition.
Yes, it's a whole demolitional exercise. Like, it stops. You know what I mean? And then you have to become and be rebuilt and deprogrammed to be rebuilt, to become who you're supposed to be. So anyway, I thought that everything was going to be smooth, right? Like, I thought, hey, I said, yes, we got this. All right, next. Yes, right? You understand that it probably wasn't a month later, and then my whole world shifted again, and I found out that at the age of 30, I found that at 36, I was going to be a grandmother. What my question is to you is, how did you handle the stumbling blocks after you said yes to purpose? How did you handle the obstacles? Because that was major for me.
I was like a toddler. I'm not even going to lie. I was like a toddler. It is so crazy because I was just talking to my friend about this today. I was like a toddler. I was kicking, screaming. I was fussing, fighting. And I'm like, why?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why does my yes cause so much pain?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like praying and crying, praying. That was my story for a while. And I just finally got on my knees and I said, God, why me? Why?
Mm-hmm.
And I waited for an answer. I did not like the answer that I got because his response was, why not?
Mm.
And I was like, what? What do you mean, why not? And I did not get it until I started teaching, because I took it from there. I was like, okay, why not? All right, yeah, I'm built for this. I'm strong. I'm all this. All right. But it didn't really sink in until I started teaching. And kids can be so catty nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
So the kids she looked at me like this, and she did this, and she did that,
Mm-hmm.
and that. And I'm like, oh my God, who cares? Like, just get over it. And they're like, but it hurts. and all this other kind of stuff. And I said, listen, just pray for the other person. Just pray for them. But I feel like God ain't answering my prayers and all this other kind of stuff. And why I got to go through all of it. And I saw myself acting the same way. And one day during a devotional, I told the children, and I had to swallow this myself. I told them, I said, you may think it hurt right now, and you may feel like you can't endure the pain. And I told my students, I said, you know what? I asked God one day why. He said, why not? And I said, I had to think about it this way. I had to change my perspective because I said, there's a billion other people in this world. Billion people. And the fact that it hurts, but the fact that you chose me out of a billion other people lets me know that, yes, the pain don't last always. And I'm going to be able to get through this. But you could have chose anybody else because you're God. You could have chose anybody else. But the fact that you took the time to pick me and I'm afflicted, but it's birthing something else. And what happens after you birth the baby? You're like, oh, she's so cute.
I know, right? Doesn't this overwhelming sense of joy come up? Well, I mean, not for me, but in most doesn't, you're like, oh my God, my baby.
So I'm just like, it's worth it. It hurts, but it's worth it because God could have chose anybody else, but he trusted you enough because he knew that you could handle what you're going through.
I love that. And one of the things that I feel like when we say yes to purpose, we enter into that fantasy land. It's like nothing will ever, fade me again because I said yes to purpose. And that's not the case. Krystal, how did it work out for you?
It was a pretty sad reality check because I was kind of like Dr. Shoneika. A lot of praying and a lot of crying. Many nights praying and crying because, like you said, when you walked into your purpose, you're expecting like things to just work out lovely and it's going to just be beautiful and perfect because I'm being obedient to what God is calling me to. But it was the complete opposite, and it was just a really devastating reality check. And I think it's something that needs to be addressed more because so many people are running out here because they see stuff on social media and not everybody is telling the sad side of the story and how it's not going to all be good days. And really starting out, the struggle is real, like they say. But for me, I just continue, like I surround yourself with and just having people support into me, getting really involved in my church and just making sure that like everything in my atmosphere was, positive. I didn't want any kind of negativity around me. And during that season is when God led me to write my second book, Surrender, a 30-day devotional journal for moms, because that's basically what I had to do to come to a place of peace and contentment and not this struggle of, why, Lord, why am I going through this? I had to surrender it all to him.
Oh my God, that is so absolutely true. Every day requires a new yes.
Yes.
Every day requires a new yes. And I think one of the things that I had to do was, and this was a part of me transforming my pain into my power, because you would never have caught me telling this story back then. You would have never, it took, years for me to find my voice and share this story. So I think one of the things that we have to realize is even as moms, we go through cycles of uncovering roots of why we feel and react the ways that we do, even after we've had kids. Even after we have said yes to purpose, and one of the things that I know I personally, even after saying yes, even though I knew parts and pieces of my purpose, one of the things that I still had to go back and do was still be developed in certain areas of my life. And it required me to take a look at where the root causes of the pain was and say, God, okay, this is where I need healing. So as a mom, now at this point, I'm not only a mom, but like my child is about to have a child. So, you think, wait a minute, you're supposed to be a grandmother. You're still dealing with X, Y, and Z, right? So one of the things that I want moms to be liberated and free to do by listening to this podcast is knowing that you will always go through a cycle of identification, healing, and recovery.
Yeah.
And then being at peace with who you are once that process is done. So let's talk a little bit about that. And I promise I won't keep you all long, but what was it like as a mom healing through, like you guys talked about that time where your surrender required some crying and some praying and you recognizing that, wait, I'm not whole right here. Wait, I got a problem with this. Wait, oh God, something else. So why don't we just chat really quickly about what that looked like? How did you find that space for what we now call self-care, but we're going to call it like the healing and restoration moments? How did you handle that being a mom with younger kids? Like my kid was 18. Y'all talking about like kids under 13.
Right.
Where did you find time and space?
I found most of my time in the wee hours. So I would wait till everyone is asleep. And then in the middle of the night, like I would wake up. And my coach, thank God, is on a different time zone. So she would, like where it was really late my time, it was early her time. So she was really, God just planted different people in my life to nurture me back to health, because I knew, I was like, oh, I can't do this alone. I can't. Just like when you hurt, you need a doctor. Get on Google and try to self-medicate yourself and set yourself up and all of that stuff. You need a doctor. So I was able and fortunate to have my coach in my life. My life coach, I had to get a life coach because I was like, every coach needs a coach. So I had to get a life coach, and she helped me spiritually, mentally, to see what was coming forward, what to pray for, what to do, how to react, because I am a reactor. So when things start afflicting me, I kind of go off on it. So I'm like, pop goes the weasel. And, so I had to learn how, to control some of these things, because one thing that I did not want to do is to the point where my kids became an agitation, because I had such small children. So I had to make sure that no matter what I was going through, I was getting it out. I was in therapy and everything, and reading a lot of books and just listening to different sermons and things like that, because I didn't want to wind up somewhere that that required bail money. So
yes.
So I had to get it together, and I had to get it together quick, because I knew that my kids depended on me.
That's good. That's good. What about you, Krystal?
Well, for me, because I serve single mothers, so I know, and of course, if I'm trying to teach them self-care, I have to practice what I preach. And as a nurse, that's something that I've always learned, is you can't take care of others until you take care of yourself first. And especially as a life coach, when you're constantly pouring into people and giving of yourself, you have to take care of yourself. So I always made self-care a priority. And so like Dr. Shoneika was saying, like, while my son, is asleep in the morning, because he asked me last year after I started my business, we were in a year into my business, then he decided he wants to be homeschooled. So, him going off to school during the day gives mommy free time. But now we're both home during the day. So I really had to push self-care up there, because now we're together all the time. And not only do I have to take care of myself, I have to make sure I make time for him as well. So it's finding a balance between the two. But mommy has to take care of herself in order to be able to give anything to him or others. So it's at the top of my list. I always make time for myself. And a lot of moms struggle with that because they feel like it's selfish. And I teach all the women that I work with, no, it's not selfish. It's necessary.
Now, how do you tell them to add that into their schedule, because, it may be a matter of, is it before the kids get up? Is it after the kids go to bed? Like Dr. Shoneika said, is it while they're in school, which for moms who homeschool, that's not the case? Or is it a moment where, how do we fit in this process? Because how do we limit the meditation, the healing process? How do we kind of put that into the schedule?
Well, I tell women, you need to, like, if you keep a calendar, for me, I keep it on my phone, because that's one thing most of us do not go without. So you need to schedule it on your calendar, on your phone. So when you get an alarm or alert, okay, this is my time and nobody interferes with my time. And you just need to make it a priority. We make time for the things that we value. So
that's good.
That's all I'm saying.
The alarm is very good, because what I did was I have a set alarm that goes off every day at either 3 or 4 o'clock. When I was going through everything that I was going through, it would go off at 3 a.m. every morning. But then when I realized I needed to get just another hour of sleep, I set it for 4 a.m. So every day my alarm goes off at 4 a.m. So this way I know nobody's up. Nobody's poking around. Nobody's doing nothing. Nobody's pretending to be asleep, running back and forth, when mommy tells you to go to bed and you just acting like you sleep. So I get up at 4 a.m. and that's when I do my alone time. And I'm either listening to something, or I'll put the Bible app on and just let it play. And just, I get my time like that. Because if you don't schedule it, you will miss it.
That's true. So I think that is a good place for us to kind of wrap up. One, I think one of the things that we discussed was, don't let your purpose be something you go without because you have babies, no matter the age, no matter how many.
Yes.
Okay? The purpose is for your children, yes, because you're building a legacy for them, but it's for the world as well, and it's a necessity. 2, don't allow your yes to be just a one-time event. Understand that there are going to still be some obstacles and challenges that as moms you will go through.
Right.
And number 3, self-care is a non-negotiable. Make time to heal, make time to identify the root causes of pain, make time to identify those recovery things that you need to do to heal. And last but not least, make time to celebrate the wins of being able to say, I got over by, I got over how, I got over when. I feel like those success points allow us to understand how much more powerful we are when we realize the thing that traumatized us the most is now the thing that we've taken authority over.
Yes.
Right.
So, ladies, thank you so much for joining today.
Thank you.
Krystal, tell the people where they can find you on social media.
Well, I'm pretty much on all the social media platforms, Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram. But I say for most people, a great place to start would be my website, www.divine-destiny.com, because I actually have a free 3-day Change Your Mind, Change Your Life challenge that I think many people need to go through, especially single moms, because until you get your mind right, nothing else is going to be able to be sustained or go the way that you want it to go. You have to be able to believe that whatever it is God is calling you to, like, He's already made the way. Like, your purpose is the one thing you cannot fail at because you were created for that. But so many women can't wrap their mind around that. So go to my website, go through the free 3-day Change Your Mind, Change Your Life challenge. I think that's a great place to start. You can stay connected with me there.
That is so awesome. All right, Dr. Shoneika, what about you? Where can we find you on social media?
I am on all social media, but everything else is Shoneika Moore, and my website, which is the best place to contact me, is www.shoneika.com. So just my name.
Wonderful. Yay. Ladies, I cannot express to you enough how much this set and established our foundation for moms for season 3. You know what? I feel like we need a whole rap party. I think I'm going to start inviting my guests to my Facebook group so that we can do an after party and start answering questions. I would love to do that. So I think I might have to put that in place because that would be so amazing. But listen, ladies, this is your host. I'm Kimberly Smith, the Purpose Catalyst. And today I really hope that it launched you forward to encourage you to identify your purpose and transform your pain into power and activate your zone of genius so that you can start collecting those coins. You can catch me on Facebook at Purpose Catalyst or on Instagram at Purpose_Catalyst. Until the next time, it has been a pleasure to serve you. I'm so grateful that you're with us. Can't wait to see you on the next episode. Bye, ladies.